Yes, Saruman has come and scoured the Shire. It's in ruins. I'm only kidding, but in all seriousness, I welcome you back to this project, which I have not done an update for in a while. To be frank, I have not played in this world, or really been motivated to play Minecraft at all, for quite a while. You might remember in my last video where I talked about how I made the Shire, I said this near the end of it. The reconstruction was mainly just the main part of Hobbiton, and there's still a lot of surrounding areas that really don't have anything to do with the book. They're just my own conjurings. I've thought about remaking the whole thing to be more book accurate, but that would require a complete reconstruction of Hobbiton. In fact, the entire thing would have to be rebuilt because there's just not enough space, and I would have to destroy so much of the work that I did around, and I just don't want to do that. And while that was true, I just lacked really the drive to make the next step in completely redoing what I needed to do to make it satisfactory. But recently I came through this world and I just realized once again how dissatisfied I was and how I wished things could be different. But in order to change them for the better, required a huge step. Just a complete reconstruction, really, of pretty much everything, which was extremely intimidating, and in a way I was very attached to my work and I didn't want to do that. But here we are. I decided there's no point in leaving this in such a dissatisfied state, where I'm not going to be happy with it. And the fun of this project is working on it. I have fun working on it and building it, making it how I envision, just going through it when you're done and looking at it. It's just not the same. It's just like, yes, I'm done, now what? It's like the process of building it is just so enjoyable to me. The work is what I enjoy. So going back into this and redoing it has been incredible. But I'm going to give you, as quick as I can, a little update onto each part of the Shire and how I'm redoing it and its current state and plans. I'm going to go in creative mode just to make it easier to show you around. Of course, this project is still in survival completely, but just for the sake of this video, I will do this. Honesty is the best policy, my friends, and because of that, I'm going to share with you something which I'm hesitant to share because I don't want it to take away from the quality of this build. But, ultimately, it is what I chose to do, so I shouldn't be hesitant to say so. So one of the main problems I had in this Shire was that Bag End, the hill, was a little bit too close to the river, and it was a little bit too low down. I wanted it to be a little bit higher and a little bit further away so like it would give me more space for everything in between, because it was a bit too compact before and I wanted to widen it out. But of course, in order to do that, I had to entirely remake the hill, because to move, I moved Bag End 5 blocks farther and 2 blocks higher, which doesn't sound like a lot, but it makes an extreme difference. Plus, in order to keep the balance of the whole area, I didn't want to make it too extremely different. But of course, to do that requires a complete reconstruction of the interior. Everything has to be completely redone. The entire outside of the hill has to be completely reshaped. All the landscape leading down had to be redone. I mean, as you can see, everything where there's not grass has been re-landscaped. I just finished this area yesterday. I've been working on the landscape of the hill for a while. One of the main differences in this reconstruction is that I removed all the hobbit holes surrounding the hill, because obviously they're not meant to be there in a lore-accurate sense. And of course, my goal here is to adhere as much to the book and lore as I can while maintaining the closest depiction of my imagination that I can. But my imagination has been conformed more and more to an accurate book version. So I'm just trying to find the perfect balance between what makes me happy, but also the more I deviate from the book, the less happy I am with it. So naturally, it's been much closer to the book. And I will say, Articraft, the Minecraft server, recreating Middle Earth, is such a huge inspiration for me. I love them. There's things in the Shire or in Hobbiton especially that I don't agree with, or that they did, or at least they're not in accordance with like how I feel about it. So those things are a bit different. One thing, for instance, is like the tree atop of Bag End, which isn't really lore accurate. In some of Tolkien's early conceptions of Bag End in his drawings, he made a tree right above the door, which, you know, in his final illustration is not there. So theoretically there isn't supposed to be a tree right above the door, but for me, in my mind, it's always been there, so I'm not going to remove it. And the party tree is something I just finished. I just built this yesterday, but the party tree is such a huge part of my Shire and my it's just such a big part of the beginning of the story and the Hobbiton for me, so it was extremely important, and I'm really happy with the way the party tree has turned out. So anyways, as you can see here, Bag End has been largely remodeled. I'm in love with it right now. The hill has been like 7 layers heightened. The Bag End garden is huge. It's gonna be so cool once I'm done with it. Based off of his illustration mainly, the form of it. The interior of Bag End, I've redone a lot of to make it in accordance with my vision and book accurate, of course. It's been expanded largely, put more rooms, which I've always wanted to do, but the size of the hill has always constrained me. But now, of course, there's a lot of details and things left that I haven't done yet, but I'm in the process of doing it. But there's so many lovely additions to Bag End. I'm so excited for this interior to be finished because it's so much nicer than it used to be, in my opinion. Okay, I sidetracked myself, but anyways, what I was going to share was that I couldn't I couldn't bear to completely redo Bag End. It was just I just liked so much of what I had done, and I just really did not want to rebuild it block for block. So what I did was I used World Edit. I'm sorry, it's the first time in this project that I decided to do something outside of survival mode, but I just copied the interior of Bag End basically, and moved it the 5 and 2 blocks. But I only did I only did Bag End interior itself, and then I built the hill and the rest of the landscape around it. Naturally, it was literally just Bag End that I moved, and I was worried. I've been extremely opposed to doing anything outside of survival in this world because it makes me feel like I knew it would make me feel very like guilty, and it would just bother me that I didn't do it legitimately because I don't want to do this project in creative or something. I really love doing it in survival. But that specific thing, I just didn't know how to get around. The thing is I didn't want to redo Bag End. I just didn't want to. So I was like, if I just leave it the way it is, I'm not going to be satisfied with it. So I just compromised, and I moved a little bit in World Edit, which I don't feel bad about, just because I'm so much more happy with it now. And it was a very slight change. It's not like I did something major, but it's just rebuilding it block for block, just slightly farther away would have been so painful. But anyways, I want to be honest and say that I did that. So I guess I can't really classify this as like a vanilla project anymore, but that was the one thing I did. Anyways, moving on. Yeah, so the party field now is a bit more to the right because that's the way it's meant to be. There's a hedge that comes down right from Bag End's door where the garden starts, and there's a bit of field before Bagshot Row. But anyways, Bagshot Row now, the field in between Bag End and Bagshot Row is a little bit bigger. I moved Bagshot Row slightly back to give it a little bit more space in between the old Grange, which I had to completely rebuild. But I might raise it up a few blocks. I'm not sure because it's a bit taller in Tolkien's illustration, but I'd wanted it to be a bit shorter, so I might raise it up a little bit. I haven't decided. The mill I had to completely rebuild, actually. Besides the wheel stayed the same, but I had to rebuild the building because it was slightly off of position, so I had to rebuild it. And the interior is redone as well. And then the mill house was able to stay, but I had to expand it a few blocks, which I was actually really happy about because it was really compact before, so now it's a bit bigger, which is nice. And this is something I forgot to add before, so I'm just adding it in here. But the reason I had to redo the mill is because I wanted to give even more space between Bag End and the river. So I had to move the water back a little bit closer to the village side, bring the village side slightly in, and then I expanded out the Hobbiton side a little bit, and I had to completely remake the bridge there. So the mill just had to be slightly brought out because it was too close to the inland, which it really highlights one of the most frustrating parts of having to redo this project. Is that literally I have to completely remake so many things just to move them like it's moved like 2 blocks over, but I had to completely remake the building because obviously if you're moving positions you have to do that. So that's why it was so hard to undergo this project, because there's just so many things I had to completely remake for a small adjustment. I built this farmhouse here, which is in Tolkien's illustration, which I've worked into my imagination, and I'm just trying to figure out how I want the rest of the area to look exactly, but this will be a lovely addition. All the Hobbit holes over here are beneath here, but they've been covered up because that's, as you can see, there's still one a little bit visible right here. I need to finish the landscape over here, but if we go up, you will see one of the huge projects I'm currently working on to make this more satisfactory is removing this entire area that I've built over here, because just having it right next to the Shire has always taken away from the authenticity of the Shire. So I really just want to remove all this and turn it into Shire land as well. The whole landscape and atmosphere will be so much better once I remove that. All these hobbit holes, this area still needs to be removed, built over, but I'm still in the process of doing all this over here. It's a massive amount of work. I've actually recruited my friend Noah, who's been in this server before. We used to play in this server together before I started the Shire. He's come in and helped me tear things down because it's just so much to remove. So he's been helping me, which has been lovely that he's helped me do that. The village currently is exactly the same. I haven't touched it yet because I don't want to begin something while I'm still working on so many other things. The village has to be redone, probably not completely, but a lot of it's going to be really rethought out. All these meadows and crop fields and stuff are going to be made over here as they're meant to be, because there used to be a bunch of hobbit holes, but now they're being removed, and this terrain still has to be removed and made more gradually. This whole area over here was re-landscaped. It was just too high, so I've lowered it. I actually, to be honest, would really like it to be lower, even lower over there, but there's just too much for me to do. I can't completely lower this whole area because I've just built so much stuff over here. It's like I don't want to completely re-landscape the entirety of it, but I redid this entire circle here, as you can see, and then obviously the hill has been completely expanded and re-landscaped, which has been a slow process because it's very difficult to naturally create such a thing, but honestly the prominence of the hill is part of its uniqueness, like the way that it just sort of suddenly is here. But one of the main goals I have in this reconstruction is to make the hill more prominent, because the surrounding landscape before it's pretty high, so it takes away from the prominency of the hill. Like this side, for instance, is still very high, which I need to take down. There's going to be a new road into Overhill, and this area is going to be part of the village and gardens of Overhill. I have to destroy all the buildings of Overhill and redo them because I don't like its old architecture. I've had an updated sense of what I'm doing. But that's Overhill's being redone, which I'm super excited about. Overhill is one of my favorite aspects of the Hobbiton area that I really want to get right and finally complete. So, but I will not burden you with too much more. I just will like to tell you about one more of my future plans, because I'm super excited to get it worked in. One of the ways I'm trying to deal with, once I've mainly done with Hobbiton, I hate that feeling of being done, and then it's just like, I don't know how to appreciate it, when I have nothing left to do, because I can walk through it, and then it's like, yeah, this is great, but like, as I said, working is the part I really love about these projects. So, I think mainly what I'm going to do, which I think I'll be very happy with, is once I complete Hobbiton, for the most part, working on expanding the Shire and all the surrounding areas, and even fine-tuning Hobbiton itself, is what I'm going to focus on to keep me into this project and keep it satisfying, because since I'm working on other things, I'll be able to go back into Hobbiton constantly and just appreciate what I've done. But I want to make Bywater. It's been a goal of mine for quite a while, actually, and this world just, it's formed so perfectly to make the Shire. It's so weird how it worked out, but like the water comes perfectly back here how it's meant to, and then there's going to be the bywater pool, which basically is already here, this big lake, but this used to be water that I built this land over, so basically bywater is going to be right here, and I'm going to remove this, turn it into the bywater pool, remove all this, and make it Shire, so bywater will be here, which I'm super excited to make eventually. It'll take me forever to get there, but then we'll have Hobbiton, and you'll be able to go along the Bywater Road to Bywater, and the Green Dragon Inn will be around this area, actually. And all this will be completely redone, rethought out, but it's time to say goodbye to all these old, awful builds, and then repurpose them to make this world satisfying. So, boatload of work. It's so overwhelming removing all this stuff. It's just so much work. There's just so many materials too to collect. It's like keeping the storage of all this stuff is so impossibly unorganized, but it'll be a long process. Plus I'm going through a move soon and a lot of changes in my life, so I'll have hardly any time to actually work on any of this stuff. So I'm trying to really rush a lot of it right now, but I'll just try to dedicate time slowly to this and build it over time. So I hope you enjoyed getting this insight into the world and current progress, and I hope you are excited for more in the future, because this is really becoming so much more of my envisionment, and it's becoming so much more accurate to Tolkien's illustration and Tolkien's Hobbiton. Of course, it's my imagination, so it's my own depiction, but, at the end of the day, I think it's a very faithful adaptation while remaining true to exactly how I feel and picture it. So I hope you appreciate this and like it as much as I do, and I hope you're excited for more in the future. But yeah, that's a brief, not very brief, that was way too long, but that's an insight into how things are going. I'm so excited to make these gardens at Bag End. They're just going to be so lovely. But yeah, I'm super happy with Bag End now, and its new and improved version. So thank you guys. I'm going to make another video soon. Someone asked me to make a video on building hobbit holes, and there's a few I need to make, so I'm going to make a video guiding you through my process of making a hobbit hole. So if you're excited for that, leave a like, leave a comment, and I'll see you later. Happy Hobbit Day, by the way. It's Hobbit Day, so this is made in honor of that. But farewell.